CRO is out and DXO is in. DXO is really the process of making meaningful changes to your website or app that meet the needs better of your users and your business.
I mean, as a CRO founder, have you ever talked about like social profiles and the actual CRO process? I mean, or is that something completely out of left field and I'm crazy?
The clients that we've been doing this with for the past 4 to 6 months are really finding that there's a lot of value here for them.
Well, hello, Jon. Excited to connect today because we're going to talk about something that I would consider, bigger than CRO, or maybe it's a topic that encapsulates CRO, but it's a broader topic that I don't think I've ever heard about before. So if I've not heard about it, the chances are a lot of other people haven't either. At least that would be the going theory. I could be.
Well, that's great. I'm excited to talk about it then.
Yeah, so we do have probably to a degree an unproductive emphasis on conversion rates in our day-to-day within e-commerce. I think we oversimplify it when I'm talking about math equations on traffic, conversions, retention, profit. It's just increase your conversion rate. It's really simple, right? And it's important and do it. But it's easy to do, and I am raising my hand as somebody that's been guilty of this. But getting focused too closely on just certain metrics and getting too deep inside the jar that I can't read the label correctly, to put it in one of your metaphors. Yeah. But it likely leaves money on the table. Back in the day, it was people looking at bounce rates. Like, bounce rates, the end-all be-all. They can't stay on your site. They can't transact. Like, okay, well, we've hopefully gone beyond that, and we don't focus as much on bounce rates. But you've been talking a lot about this term, digital experience optimization. And not as much as I would say, at least reading some of your content recently and your LinkedIn posts, not as much about like conversion rate optimization. I mean, you're a CRO company. So why are we taking it into more a digital, what are we calling it, a DXO?
DXO. Yeah. Look, I've been saying this for the past few months that CRO is out and DXO is in. And the reality is we have been a conversion optimization firm for over a decade. And that's typically the industry you would know. But I promise that websites and apps won't reach their full potential under the current industry expectations and the implementations of conversion rate optimization. So I'm here today, and I've been on the soapbox for a little bit, but you're right, we haven't really talked about it. I'm here to propose a better solution, and that's DXO, or digital experience optimization. And this evolved approach is really just bringing together all the diverse disciplines and the tactics that are needed to build a better digital journey, not just focus on conversions, but really recentering the focus on what matters most, and that is the customer.
I like it. So we're not going to focus as much just on the actual site itself and conversion rates for conversion rate's sake. But we're going to say, what are they trying to accomplish? Who's the person or people that we need this site to serve?
Yes. And you may have noticed the trend leading up to this with Behind the Click, my last book, which is all about the why you're doing different tactics and the psychology behind these folks who are visiting your site or using your app. The reason that I wrote that book was kind of a lead into this. I had noticed in the industry that everybody's now focusing on conversion. It's the hot topic of the past year and a half, ever since COVID, right? Is reality. E-commerce had a boom in COVID. Everybody wanted to focus on conversion. And then when numbers started dipping post-COVID, they were like, oh, we better focus on conversion. They doubled down on it. And, ad costs and customer acquisition costs are so high. Everybody's focused on conversion right now. And I really think a lot of folks are missing the point. Now, it also really is creating a whole bunch of issues for brands who shouldn't be focused just on conversion. Now, I agree everybody wants conversion on their site, but there are brands who can't, they're not a good candidate for conversion optimization. They don't have enough traffic. They don't have enough conversions happening already. They don't have the resources, the budget to put into conversion optimization. So as I started looking at all of this, I realized that singular focus on conversion is really hurting a lot of brands more than it's helping. And they need to be focusing on that entire digital experience and optimizing that. So CRO is just a subset of that, focusing on conversion, but there's way more to the picture.
I like it. Yeah. Because we look at the market of e-com brands, the vast majority of them are not at a size that are going to pay for true CRO. They don't have the data. It doesn't make sense to say, yeah, let's go do a bunch of user testing and do all these A/B tests when you have, let's say, 1,000 visitors a month. That's just not there. So you're saying a DXO can be a solution that can work for every company, no matter your size and where you're at. You can still leverage DXO and improve the experience for the consumer.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, so
exactly, because DXO.
So, how does what's the differences we're seeing if we're saying that CRO is kind of a subset? Like, transparently, what am I going to be able to explain to somebody like, oh, you need DXO?
Yeah, so DXO is really the process of making meaningful changes to your website or app that meet the needs better of your users and your business, right? And this is achieved through stuff that you might have heard me talk a lot about here, but data analysis, research, strategy, experimentation is part of that, right? But DXO is really a foundational approach that involves looking at a digital journey as a whole and not just how customers engage with you, but why they make different decisions. Again, going back to the book Behind the Click and talking about the why. It analyzes behaviors from the moment they enter your app all the way through post-conversion. And so my point of view on this is conversion optimization is just too small of a lens, right? DXO is bigger than, tweaking colors, maybe it's just a little bit of copy, some images on your website or app. Now, look, digital experience optimization does improve the look and feel of your digital product or site. But it can also change how you think about and address your customers, improve your culture of experimentation in your business, skyrocket buy-in from stakeholders, and using data to make more informed decisions. So I think to kind of summarize that, put it more simply, like digital experience optimization, it crafts comprehensive user-centered journeys, right? It address the needs of the consumer at kind of every single stage that they would take of that journey.
Got it. So are we talking like almost like visualizing, like they entered the site and then they went to this page and then this page and then checked out and then left the cart? Or is it more about different channels and different consumers and personas coming in and understanding what they may or may not need on a certain category page?
You broke up there, Ryan. I couldn't hear what you were saying. I'll add a note for Josh here.
Oh, yeah, we're having issues on connectivity here.
Can you try again, Ryan, with that question?
Yep, I'm just making sure that I'm hardwired in, which I am. Yeah, so when you're talking about journeys, I visualize like this crazy like roadmap almost of like, hey, all these places they enter the site and then they go here, and I visualize a thing that used to be awesome in Google Analytics, the universal one, and then figure out oh, is that the digital journey we're mapping? Or is this more about finding personas and understanding people? Like, how can I visualize this better, I guess, in my head on when you're talking journeys to what you mean about the consumers on the site?
Well, and that's how I broke it down in the book to have 4 different parts of that, right? So there's 4 specific areas that consumers are looking at. And I think it's really interesting because I'm like literally opening the book now to make sure I share these right. But the first is that discovery phase, right? And so this is where consumers are understanding they have a problem. They're doing some research, right? They're starting to see, maybe they see your ad or they find you on Google or get a referral, right? Then that second phase is information gathering. This is where consumers are really going to jump in and say, can you, as a brand, solve my specific pain or need? Right? They might have 100 tabs open with your competitors and
or
products.
Ryan Garrow.
Right. Or you just, choose the first thing that comes along, right? Only after they've done all of that do they start making a decision and start to actually think about conversion and buying, right? Then there's the whole post-purchase phase. What happens after somebody purchases, right? Are they going to regret that purchase? Are they going to tell other people, right? And the challenge with all of this is that conversion rate optimization is defined as singularly that process that increases percentage of users who performed a desired action or buy off of your website. So out of those 4, you're really only getting a subset of one of those 4 steps that people are going through. You're not even getting 1/4. You're actually getting less than that because that step has multiple things that they're going through, right? They're information gathering. They're starting to really make a decision and then they convert. So it's one action out of this entire journey. And I think that that's really the challenge is because most people, when they hear conversion optimization, they immediately go to, this is A/B testing, right? They immediately go to, oh, well, I'm going to find ways to alter my site through A/B testing that are going to tell me how to get people to convert at a higher rate. And that's all they focus on. So you often hear something like conversion rate optimization program and a testing program used interchangeably. And that's why. Because it is only testing is the reality. And we've always done more than that at The Good, but we've never really talked about all these other things that we do because the clients that came to us always wanted testing. That was what they knew. So we're trying to educate folks on what the entire journey looks like. So when compared to DxO, CRO is actually very narrow and very limiting. And I think we need to get away from that. In fact, I think this might get me in some hot water. I know you love your hot takes, but I think the reality is I'm tempted to go as far as to advocate that conversion rate optimization, as it's currently defined and understood by the industry, should not exist anymore. We should simply remove it from our vocabulary. And I say this as the founder of one of the industry's first conversion rate optimization firms. So if I'm moving on from this and leaving a decade of history plus behind, it's not for nothing. This is something that we need to be doing as an industry.
Damn, I'd say that's a pretty big comment coming from the CRO brain that I would say dominates quite a bit. So I mean,
the DxO brain.
Yeah, it's a DxO brain now. If I take a step back personally, though, and start thinking about my digital journeys now, I would say that the DxO would go even beyond the website. And I would think that your social channels, where you're higher up the funnel, you've got to be probably considering the experience there in addition to the website because... I mean, the reality is my decision to buy often happens before I even get to the website. And at that point, the website can only screw it up by not having a normal checkout process. Like if you just put me on a Volusion site, maybe that's like 20 years old, you might not get me. But other than that, like I saw this thing on social. My friend sent it to me, said I had to have it. I'm like, all right, yeah, I definitely need to have that. You know, my wife buys things for our new pool this summer that I don't know how she got to that site, but it's like, yeah, you're buying it. Okay, great. But that is, I mean, I don't know if CRO, I mean, as a CRO founder, have you ever talked about like social profiles and the actual CRO process? I mean, or is that something completely out of left field and I'm crazy?
You're not crazy, first of all, which I'm sure you appreciate hearing. But I think
I got one. I'm going to take. I mean, you're going to meet my wife later today.
Love it. The reality is that happens in that discovery phase, right? That is the first phase. Now, I'm not suggesting that the good is going to become a social ad company and that, but I will say that the research that we do and the customer understanding should filter back up to what is driving the traffic, because there needs to be a connection between what promises are made in that traffic generation technique, whether it be social or ads or whatever it might, videos, whatever it is that somebody saw. And when they get to your site, there needs to be a thread there. And if that thread's not there, they're probably going to be confused and leave. Because again, they're doing that discovery of, well, what is the pain point I really have? And are there solutions for this out there? Right. And then they come across the search results that may have 10 different options. And then they start going into information gathering mode. Right. So you do have to have the social or ads or video marketing, whatever you're doing, needs to have a thread through it to the site and what you talk about. Now, DxO can focus on the site. In fact, it does improve the look and feel of your website. It goes beyond these superficial changes, but it incorporates user feedback and behavioral data to drive decisions, right? So that's where a site might look good, but also work well. And that's something that, I like to think of this as it's a great way to build those hard to measure qualities like trustworthiness, reliability, and maybe safety that your customers really need. And the things that they're looking for at each of those steps in the journey, right? But off of the site, it also helps you to prioritize your ideas and improvements you want to make. So you probably have hundreds of ideas you want to try, right? But each of those chains comes with a cost and resourcing, right? Workforce, time, money. So how do you choose which ones you should do? What's worth exploring? So DxO is really meant to help you kind of zero in on those ideas that are more likely to move the needle. And so that might not be just on site, right? Same thing. It will help you form a deeper understanding of your customers. It's going to give you that more profound comprehension of your customers' beliefs, their preferences, what their needs are. And of course, all of that's going to help you convert better, but it also is going to help you to have more relevant ads in the end, right? It can also help you create a culture of user-centered and data-driven decision-making. It's no secret that, data-backed decisions are better than gut feelings. And some may argue that, but as a computer science, and just general science believer, I think that's probably data is the way to go. But, a strong DxO program is going to use real world data from your ideal audience to guide that decision making. And that's not something you just would use on your website. Although this all does get applied. I mean, where the good comes in is we are experts at taking all this information and applying it to your website or app, right? Lastly, you really can save time and resources by validating your design decisions before you do them. So it enables you to validate or maybe even invalidate data, right? And understand what you should implement before you do it. What are customers going to want? How do they react? So you're not wasting money digging a hole that you have to fill right back up. And unfortunately, CRO likes to say they validate decisions, but really what they're validating is, will this make somebody take an action? And that's all that CRO does. This is much more holistic than that.
So as somebody that has lots of ideas that get shot down by my significant other before they get off the ground, walk me through how DxO could actually practically help me prioritize an idea. Like, how would that realistically work? Like, I think we should do this. Well, DxO says that's a bad idea, but you should try this version. Like, how does that play out?
Maybe that's the next book, How DxO Can Save Your Marriage. I think the reality here is, look, if you're going to measure the performance of your digital experience, it's a tall task. It really is, compared, especially compared to just focusing on conversion rate and that singular metric. But DxO is going to set you up for more success as a whole. So there are 5 areas that we generally want to look at the good to understand if we're being effective, right? So the first is data foundations. Do you have these clear goals? Do you have ownership and maybe good data to form the backbone of any decisions that you're making? Right? So first of all, is there data? Do you have the data that you need, right? So this immediately eliminates those SMBs, e-com sites, right? Which is a huge problem with CRO. Those folks shouldn't be doing CRO to begin with. This immediately upfront just eliminates them because they don't have the right data. The second is user-centered approach. So, does your company have a comprehensive roadmap of what should be optimized based on what consumers are looking for? Not just what your CEO thinks you should do, right? It's really based on that data and that research. And then third is resourcing. Are you giving optimization the resources, the support, the adequate capabilities? Are you moving along at a decent pace? These are all questions you need to ask yourself if you're going to be successful. Fourth is toolkit. Do you have the necessary tools for planning, for measurement, right? Analytics, et cetera, and even running tests. It's true, you do need tools to run tests, not just A/B tests. You could do user tests, et cetera. You need all the right tools to do that. And then the last is the biggest, I think, because once you get this, you've kind of unlocked the ability to level up everything I just mentioned even more. So I put this last on the list because if you've knocked out the other 4, at least enough to prove it out, you'll get the 5th one, which is impact and buy-in. So you'll increase the relevance of data-backed decisions, and you'll have stakeholders utilizing that data and championing it throughout the company, which will then feed back in to let you collect more data, to take in more user-centered approaches, to have more resources to do all of this, to get the right toolkits, right? You can see how this all kind of feeds itself over time. And it's not something that a small e-com site can do.
So are you saying that small e-com sites can't do DxO, or they have to use DxO because they can't do CRO?
Well, I'm saying that the reality is they often don't have the resources to be able to optimize the entire digital journey. And that's why they think CRO is going to solve their problems. Like, let's just focus on the conversion. The problem is they try to do that, but then they don't have the right data. So it's kind of this weird catch-22. What I recommend they do, and this is something you've heard me say for years now, Ryan, is talk to your consumers. That's what you need to do. That's the first step. Don't worry about converting them yet. Talk to them and then alter your site based on what you learn. If you just do that, you probably won't need conversion optimization for quite some time.
So you would be throwing that in the bucket of DxO, like, hey, you're actually just going to talk to your customers because you're going to get better data from them than you would measuring the conversion rate of 200 visitors. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
And so you're now starting to take a user-centered approach. You're going to go out and use that data to help you get more resources. then eventually you'll be able to get the toolkits and you'll have that buy-in from your team.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I think that makes a lot of sense because you don't have to be small to talk to your customers either. I mean, big companies can and should be doing it. Yeah, it's like they're paying your bills and they're keeping your site going and keeping your employees employed. Just talk to them. They're not scary.
They are the real boss.
They are, and I think this is really cool. I'm excited to see how this plays out in the market too. When there's a new term, DXO. Did you trademark it? Is that why we're changing it?
Well, we had our conversion growth program before. We now have the DXO program, which is something we've been working on for almost 2 years to revise our service offering, to broaden it a little bit to where it incorporates all of these things that need to be part of it. And that is really proving beneficial. The clients that we've been doing this with for the past 4 to 6 months are really finding that there's a lot of value here for them that's not just in measuring that singular metric. And that makes me happy because, again, as a mission of removing all the bad online experiences until only the good remain, well, I think if we just focus on the conversion, we're missing that point.
No, I love it. As an advocate for small brands growing and getting the opportunities that big brands do. Like, hey, I love working with big brands. We have a lot of really big, cool ones that it's fun to work with.
Yeah.
But I also like, as the entrepreneur in me, I want all business owners that are small to have a shot at getting big.
Yeah.
And I think this idea of your DXO process for all size businesses is awesome. Yeah. I'm excited for this. So
thank you.
Anybody can do DXO. You just got to take the steps. Listen to Jon. I assume you have more content on the website about DXO if somebody wants to dig in a little deeper.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a couple of ways to do that. First is my last book, Opting into Optimization, is a great lead into this because writing that book is kind of what helped me realize there needed to be a shift here. And then reading Behind the Click, of course, will help you to take that a step further. But even just following what we're doing at The Good, signing up for our insight emails. We call them the Good Question now. Each week we're answering a question that somebody submits and diving really deep on it. So all helpful content. We don't sell through that content. It's never a sales pitch. It's more of a, how can we help you with this? And so that's a great educational tool. We have that encyclopedia of DXO, if you will, up on our site, 15 years worth of thinking. Go check it all out.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jon. Appreciate it. And yeah, go check out Jon's site. If you haven't signed up for his newsletter and you're on episode, 110, you've skipped a few things. You got to get in there and catch back up. So subscribe to Jon's email list. It's great.
Love it.
Thank you.
All right, Ryan. Thank you. Appreciate it.